This module, Azure Resource Hierarchy for Authorization. In this course, we're going to explore least privilege principles and some of the key things we have to think about, moving on to understanding management groups, subscriptions, resource groups, and how we want to use those as part of our authorization control. We're going to look at using and creating roles, both for Azure AD and for Azure Resource Manager, thinking about enabling some of those core least privilege principles, such as just-in-time with privileged identity management, and then really enhancing our all-up authorization capabilities with conditional access by adding in risk conditions. In this module specifically, we're going to quickly look at authorization with Azure AD, understanding some of the key goals around authorization, and then looking at those management groups, subscriptions, and resource groups in terms of our permission management. I wanted to quickly touch on why a whole course about authorization is required. And it really comes down to authorization controls, what an identity can do. Authentication is all about proving you are who you say you are. And this really contrasts with authorization that, yes, you are who you say you are. Now, what can you do? What can you access? Understanding the authorization constructs is really critical to ensuring only the required level of permissions, i.e., I can only do what I absolutely need to do. At the required scope, I can only impact the objects that I need to impact, and for the required duration, i.e., I'm not walking around with these high privileges. I get them only when I need them. So this really is the focus of what I want to talk about and make sure we really implement authorization the right way. Now, I want to really focus on the whole authentication, auth-in, and authorization, auth-z. And when we think about authentication, this is proving a principle really is that principle. And I use the word principle because it's not just about users. Yes, we have users and they need to prove who they say they are. They need to do maybe multi-factor authentication, but we also have service principles, we have applications, we have Azure resources. For example, we have managed identity, which represents a certain resource in Azure. So we have many different things that have to be able to prove who they say they are. And then once they've done that, then we focus on the authorization. This is all about what a principle can do. And when I think about that authorization, there's both fine and coarse-grained. Coarse-grained would be yes, you can access this certain application. Typically, that might be external completely to the application, for example Azure AD. Then we have fine-grained. You can access these specific actions on specific objects that has to be enforced within the application, within the service, for example role-based access control within Azure Resource Manager. You can have these specific actions for this type of object, but only these particular objects within, for example, a certain resource group. And as we do this authorization, we really don't want these privileges just standing. We don't want them all the time. We want to gain them only when we actually need them.